What is going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day wherever you're at in this world. It is a beautiful day here in Washington State, and I thought I'd just take a drive and explain to you guys, now that the project's over, how much this project cost, and go over some things that I didn't show on camera. So, first off, before I say anything, I got a new tripod mount that clips to stuff, and it's one of the worst Chinese pieces of crap you've ever seen in your life. So if the camera's wobbly, I'm sorry, but hopefully we can get through this and I won't hit any potholes along the way. So first, talk about how much the Suburban costs. First off, I got this thing for $800, and I've been looking for one for a while, and I finally found one on Craigslist for $1,500. And I won't go into why the guy wanted to get rid of it, but essentially he was not able to keep the vehicle where he worked, and right off, without even negotiating, he offered it to me for $1,000. And I was actually able to get him down a couple more dollars to $800. So I was to the moon and back with that deal right off before I even did anything to it. And I knew it had really good running gear, it just needed a new interior, and I figured for $800, I think I could make it work. So after I got it home, I think the next day or the day after, I went to go get some new license plates and a new registration. That cost $236. And you just can't avoid that. It is what it is. I think it was pretty good for $1,036 altogether to have a new vehicle in my driveway. I can't complain about that. So one of the things that I didn't really explain on camera was when we put these seats back in and we had to put the center console in the center here. First off, I had to go source the center console because there didn't come one with the truck. And when I got what I thought was a good center console, and I went to install it, turns out I don't really know how to explain it, but there's two screws that screw into the front of the center console, and then it kind of clips in the back. There's a little plastic piece that clips into the little metal tab on the floor here. Well, that plastic broke, and so I had to source another center console out of another truck. So, and basically piece two center consoles, all the parts from one console and all the parts from another console, and piece together just one solid console. So that was like $40 altogether. I wish it was only $20, but it's not the end of the world. $20. I mean, can't complain. Next, I wanted to talk about the tires a little bit, because the tires I got for $100, and you guys know that. I explained that in the last video. But these aluminum rims that I had on the truck before with the really bad bald tires, they actually go for a pretty good price on Craigslist. And so I'm probably going to be able to get these tires for free, because the aluminum rims that I have, I'll just sell on Craigslist and, recoup the money that I spent on these tires. So that's a really big win. And I haven't sold them, so I haven't deducted the price of what I have in those tires, or what I have in the project total. So that's yet to be determined, but I think I can sell them for what I paid for this set here. Anyways, moving down the line, I want to talk about the radio a little bit, because this was the first time I've ever spliced together something. Usually I just go to the professionals at a shop and they charge me $100 so to get it installed. This is the first time learning how to wire something with a wire diagram, reading all the instructions of splicing them together. And this is what was so great about the project, because I didn't want to do that on my daily driver and potentially break something and ruin it. But with this, I didn't care what I did to it. I mean, if I broke it, I'd just go get another dash bezel or whatever at a junkyard for nothing. So that's why I did it. And it was really cheap too. It was only $35 to have a brand new radio. And it works great. So, next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a big one. When I bought the truck, the right turn signals didn't work at all, and the left turn signals only worked when you applied the brake. So right off the bat, we thought maybe like a bulb was bad, or the guy had so many subwoofer wires in here, maybe he just accidentally spliced something together. Sorry guys, picked a bad road to drive down. But we investigated a little bit more, and this whole turn signal column had to be replaced. And the reason I didn't show it on camera was I had to go underneath the dash, and I had to basically my head in there and my arms. I just wasn't able to film anything, and it would have made for a really bad video anyways. So that's why I didn't show it. But I had to take the airbag off, the steering wheel, the upper and lower clamshell to the plastic here for the steering column, lower dash bezel. It was just a huge deal. But the steering column itself was out of another junkyard and only cost $23. And that was really the big turnaround for me, because you can't sell a vehicle without any turn signals. So I'm really glad I didn't have to go to a mechanic and possibly get something diagnosed and have hundreds and hundreds of dollars spent. It was just really cheap, and I'm glad it worked out. So next, the one thing that I went to a mechanic for, everything I did myself but this one thing, and that was to get the coolant changed out. I went to just a Jiffy Lube place. It was $130. But the reason I did that was when I did all those sensors and took apart this thermostat gauge and replaced the thermostat itself, I lost quite a bit of coolant there. And so we just replaced it with some generic green coolant out of like AutoZone or something. But what I didn't know was this block had Dexcool in it. And I replaced all this stuff before I figured out what Dexcool was. And I figured out that if you add green coolant or generic coolant to Dexcool, it gels up and it can destroy your engine. And it's not going to do it in like 5 miles, but sooner than later. So I was done with it. I replaced and took out so many things. And if I wanted to do it myself, I would have had to take off the driver's side fender here. So I just went to a professional guy who had a vacuum, who sucked it out of the radiator, the core, had it thoroughly flushed. And I think it was just a good call overall. So a little bit more money than what I was planning on spending, but it is what it is. It didn't break the bank, that's for sure. Next thing was, and this was really cheap, it's not that big of a deal, but it's worth mentioning, was the oil drain bolt. I replaced the oil and the air filter off camera. I got a package deal at AutoZone. But the guy who had this truck before me, somebody over-tightened the drain plug bolt, so the threads on the bolt were stripped. And I got super lucky that the threads in the pan weren't stripped out, because that would have been a big mess. But just goes to show you shouldn't over-tighten your drain plug bolt, because if it loosens up, I mean, you're going to blow your motor within 3 minutes. But again, $4 for that. It wasn't that big of a deal. I just thought it'd be worth mentioning because it was so stupid. But anyways, guys, those were the big ticket things. All together, combined, every single penny, $1,940 for the Suburban. And I think that's a pretty good deal. You can't find Suburbans for less than $2,000 that, unless they have blown transmissions or the motors have 230,000 miles on them. So I think it was a great first restoration project, and I'd love to do something like this again. It's just been a whole lot of fun. I learned a lot, gained a lot of confidence, because it wasn't my daily driver. And if I broke something, just go to the junkyard and pay pennies on the dollar to replace it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little drive around my city. This is kind of the outer city limits of Washington State. Yes, I live in the desert in Washington, but some great guys down in the description below. James at Third Coast OBS, Jason at Sparks Fire and Baling Wire, and my man Zane at Hodgepodge Dodge Garage. His channel's just exploding, and it's really been fun to watch all those guys' channels just spike. Go check them out. Thanks so much for watching Waddock Productions, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.